They appeared imperceptibly, but changed everything. Digital assistants are the invisible inhabitants of our homes, pockets, and workplaces. What began as simple voice commands for phones has evolved into an entire ecosystem of smart devices, ready to respond to any query. Today, over 2 billion people interact with virtual assistants daily. Every third home in developed countries has a smart speaker. We ask for weather forecasts, order taxis, and control lighting without lifting a finger. Algorithms, studying our habits, anticipate our desires before we even realize them. Morning coffee begins brewing before the alarm rings. Music turns on when we enter a room. Imperceptibly, a new type of relationship is forming between human and machine, which understands us with a glance. This quiet revolution is changing not only our daily habits, but also our very thinking, our ways of making decisions, and our interaction with the world. We stand on the threshold of an era where the line between human and artificial intelligence blurs every day. From primitive commands to intelligent interlocutors, the evolution of digital assistants is astonishingly rapid. The first voice assistants, which appeared in the early 2000s, could only recognize dozens of simple commands. Today, their descendants understand hundreds of languages, grasp the context of a conversation, and even discern emotional nuances in the voice. A modern digital assistant is a complex neural network architecture, trained on trillions of parameters and capable of processing natural speech almost like a human. Behind the seemingly simple greeting, "Hi, Alice," lie years of development and terabytes of data. Tech giants are investing billions in perfecting these systems, transforming them from simple command executors into true digital companions. Modern assistants don't just answer questions. They remember preferences, analyze behavior, and adapt to individual needs. They manage finances, plan trips, monitor health, and even write poetry. The boundaries of their capabilities expand with each update. We are witnessing a shift from mechanical execution of instructions to the imitation of creative thinking. The latest models can converse for hours without repeating themselves and maintaining logical coherence. They joke, empathize, and even show a semblance of curiosity. And although these manifestations are merely algorithms, the illusion of communicating with a sentient being is becoming increasingly convincing. 7 a.m. The melodic alarm signal gradually rises, but before you manage to reach for your phone, a muffled voice says, "Good morning. Today is Tuesday, October 27th. Outside it's +12, slightly cloudy. Coffee is already brewing." The curtains slowly part, letting in the morning light, and your favorite morning tunes emanate from the speakers. This is how a typical day begins for millions of people in the age of digital assistants. While you shower, the voice assistant reads out the main news, reminds you of meetings, and suggests the optimal route considering morning traffic. Breakfast is accompanied by an automatic order of expiring products. The refrigerator itself sent a shopping list to the nearest supermarket. A smart speaker reminds Grandma to take her medication and starts the robot vacuum cleaner in your absence. Perhaps you don't even notice how many decisions have already been made for you before you leave the house. Digital assistants have transformed into invisible secretaries, planners, and consultants, managing our daily lives. They adapt to individual habits. Some need a detailed weather forecast, others a summary of stock market news. For a young mother, the assistant tracks the baby's feeding and sleep schedule. For an elderly person, it monitors health indicators and reminds them of doctor's visits. This personalization creates an illusion of care and understanding. We get used to being known, having our needs anticipated, and our cognitive load taken over. Imperceptibly, a new type of relationship is forming, a symbiosis of human and algorithm, where the line between our own decisions and system prompts becomes increasingly blurred. "I've forgotten how to find information on my own," admits 32-year-old Mikhail, an IT company manager. "Before, I could spend hours digging through manuals or forums, comparing sources. Now I just ask the assistant, and that's it." This admission is just the tip of the iceberg of profound changes happening to our thinking. Psychologists are noting an alarming phenomenon. People are increasingly experiencing cognitive paralysis when they don't have access to digital assistance. Simple tasks requiring basic planning or orientation skills cause bewilderment. Students lose the ability to structure information without algorithmic prompts. Adults forget routes they've taken for years, relying on navigators. We are observing an erosion of mental muscles, an atrophy of decision-making skills. Like physical abilities, cognitive functions weaken without regular training. The phenomenon has been dubbed digital amnesia. The brain stops memorizing information, knowing it's always available on a device. A deeper process follows, a loss of confidence in one's own judgments. People begin to doubt any decision not confirmed by artificial intelligence. Psychological dependence forms imperceptibly. First, we value convenience, then we can't do without it, and ultimately, we lose faith in our own abilities. Those who have been accustomed to delegating decision-making since childhood are particularly vulnerable. They don't know life without digital crutches and experience genuine stress when forced to act autonomously. Paradoxically, tools created to expand human capabilities are beginning to limit them. By delegating decisions to digital assistants, we imperceptibly transfer a part of our responsibility to them. With each automated task, we lose not only the skill of performing it, but also the awareness of our own role in what is happening. When a smart thermostat regulates the temperature and a virtual assistant plans meetings, we gradually distance ourselves from the consequences of these actions. Psychologists note a disturbing trend. People accustomed to constant AI prompts struggle to take responsibility for their actions. They tend to shift the blame for mistakes onto technology. "The navigator directed me the wrong way. The smart alarm didn't wake me up on time." The line between one's own decisions and system recommendations blurs. Critical thinking, a fundamental skill that allows one to analyze information and form independent judgments, atrophies without constant practice. When search engines and chatbots offer ready-made answers, the need to evaluate the reliability of sources, compare contradictory data, and formulate one's own conclusions disappears. Research shows that users of digital assistants gradually lose the ability for deep problem analysis, preferring quick solutions to fundamental understanding. The younger generation, having never known life without algorithmic prompts, proves particularly vulnerable. Character formation traditionally occurred through overcoming difficulties, making complex decisions, and facing their consequences. Modern technologies create the illusion of a world without obstacles, where any problem is solved by pressing a button or a voice command. But it is precisely in overcoming difficulties that willpower is tempered, stress resilience develops, and emotional maturity is fostered. By delegating these processes, we risk raising a generation incapable of coping with life's challenges without technological support. A paradoxical situation arises. Tools designed to expand our capabilities actually limit the development of key human qualities. The paradox of the modern technological era lies in a simple dilemma. The more convenient our lives become, the more skills we lose. This contradiction is particularly evident in our relationship with digital assistants. Every morning, millions of people wake up in a world where algorithms have already made dozens of decisions for them. Comfort becomes a habit, and then a necessity. We find ourselves in a gilded cage of our own convenience. Research shows that the brain, like muscles, develops only with regular exercise. When we stop independently searching for information, planning routes, or solving everyday problems, the corresponding neural connections weaken. Psychologists call this phenomenon cognitive outsourcing. We literally hand over part of our thought processes to machines. Parents observe a disturbing trend. Children raised with voice assistants often demonstrate a reduced ability to solve problems independently. They get used to instant answers and experience frustration when faced with problems requiring patience and perseverance. However, it would be a mistake to see only negativity in this situation. Digital assistants can free our minds for more complex and creative tasks. The key question is not in the technologies themselves, but in how they are used. Conscious use of AI assistants implies a clear division: what we want to delegate and what we must keep under our control. Perhaps the ideal model of interaction is not complete dependence and not complete rejection, but a kind of symbiosis, where technologies enhance our abilities without replacing them. Digital assistants open not only a path to convenience, but also new horizons of learning. Unlike traditional educational tools, they possess a unique ability to adapt to each person's individual pace and learning style. Artificial intelligence analyzes error patterns, identifies knowledge gaps, and offers personalized strategies for overcoming them. 7-year-old Anna, who had difficulties with mathematics, overcame her fear of numbers after 3 months of working with an educational bot. The system identified her visual learning style and adapted explanations to this characteristic. Universities are implementing virtual assistants that help students understand complex concepts at any time of day. They do not replace teachers, but expand the accessibility of knowledge. Digital mentors are especially effective in developing problem-solving skills. They don't just provide ready-made answers, but can build step-by-step explanations, ask guiding questions, and suggest alternative approaches. The user receives not a fish, but a fishing rod, a method applicable to an entire class of similar tasks. Language bots help millions of people learn foreign languages through live dialogue practice, unavailable in traditional textbooks. For people with disabilities, digital assistants become guides to the world of knowledge, adapting information to special needs. The key advantage of such systems is the absence of judgment and infinite patience. One can ask the same question repeatedly without fear of appearing incompetent. This psychological safety creates an ideal environment for experimentation and mistakes, an essential element of any learning. Imagine a person and a computer playing chess. Individually, each has its limitations, but together they can achieve incredible results. This is precisely the model of intellectual partnership offered by modern digital assistants. This is not about blind dependence, but about symbiotic relationships where technology and humans enhance each other. When an engineer uses AI to verify calculations, it doesn't replace their expertise, but expands their capabilities. A doctor consulting with a diagnostic algorithm retains the final say, but gains access to the analysis of millions of medical cases. The key principle of such a partnership is the division of roles. The human sets goals, defines ethical boundaries, and makes final decisions. The machine processes data, offers options, and performs routine operations. Effective interaction requires a conscious approach. It is worth regularly asking yourself, am I delegating a task or responsibility? It is useful to practice digital weekends, periods of deliberate abstinence from assistance to maintain autonomous skills. It is important to form the habit of checking and critically evaluating system suggestions, rather than accepting them as the ultimate truth. Intellectual partnership with digital assistants is the art of balance. where technology becomes an extension of human capabilities, not a replacement for them. In this model, we do not lose our skills, but direct them towards more complex and creative tasks, leaving the routine to algorithms. We have created a world where technology knows us better than we know ourselves. But who is responsible for the consequences of this intimacy? Behind every convenient interface are companies whose business model is often built on maximizing user engagement. Developers of digital assistants employ the same psychological mechanisms as creators of gambling games: variable reinforcement, social approval, fear of missing out. Our devices turn into sources of dopamine surges. We check notifications hundreds of times a day, awaiting a new dose of informational reward. Can we speak of ethics when algorithms are intentionally designed to be addictive? Corporations claim they are merely responding to market demands, but simultaneously, they shape these demands. Children and adolescents are particularly vulnerable, their neuroplasticity making them susceptible to digital stimuli. Their brains literally rewire themselves under constant stimulation, losing the ability for sustained concentration and deep thinking. Tech companies find themselves in the position of tobacco giants of the last century. They create an addictive product, but shift responsibility for the consequences onto the consumer. Modern digital assistants don't just execute commands, they study us, predict behavior, and subtly push us toward certain decisions. This raises a fundamental question about the boundaries of manipulation. Where does a useful recommendation end and covert control begin? When does personalization turn into profiling? We face the need for a new social contract with technology companies, which must include algorithmic transparency, data control, and the right to digital self-determination. Generation Z is the first generation to be surrounded by digital assistants from birth. For them, voice commands and chatbots are as natural as telephones were for their parents. 12-year-old Sophia doesn't remember a world without Siri. The virtual assistant answered her questions even before she learned to read. Today, the girl asks it for homework assignments and receives ready-made solutions. But what long-term consequences does this entail? Studies show a disturbing trend. Children accustomed to instant answers from AI demonstrate reduced frustration tolerance. They give up on tasks that don't yield immediate results. Neuropsychologists note changes in brain development. Areas responsible for planning and problem-solving develop differently in children with early and intensive experience interacting with digital assistants. Paradoxically, technologies designed to expand possibilities can limit cognitive development. Parents face a difficult choice: to forbid something that has become an integral part of the modern world, or to find a balance. The optimal strategy is conscious limitation. Pediatricians recommend a complete absence of digital assistants until the age of 3, minimal interaction until 7, and controlled use at an older age. It is important to create situations where the child is forced to rely on their own resources. Nature hikes without gadgets, board games requiring strategic thinking, projects that don't have ready-made solutions online. Schools are experimenting with digital detoxes, periods when students solve problems without technological assistance. The results are encouraging. Children discover abilities they never suspected they had. The key principle of healthy interaction with digital assistants is to use them as learning tools, not as substitutes for thinking. How to find a balance between technological support and maintaining one's own autonomy? This question becomes key for everyone who recognizes the dual nature of digital assistance. The path to conscious use begins with a simple principle. Technology should expand our capabilities, not replace them. The first step is an audit of digital dependencies. Spend a week noting every instance of turning to an assistant. What tasks genuinely can't you solve on your own? And where do you simply choose the path of least resistance? Designate one day a week for a digital detox, a time when you deliberately forego assistance, training your muscles of self-reliance. Practice delayed inquiry. Before asking an assistant, try to find the solution yourself, using technology only for verification. Develop the habit of critically evaluating information received. Ask clarifying questions. Check facts from multiple sources. Form your own opinion. Learn to use assistants as learning tools, not as replacements for thinking. Ask them to explain the problem-solving process, not just the final result. Special attention should be paid to children. It's important for parents to establish clear rules for interacting with digital assistants. Usage time, types of permissible requests, the need for information verification. Encourage why and how questions, not just what. Create situations where technology is unavailable, hikes, outdoor games, creative projects without ready-made solutions. In an era of information abundance, critical thinking becomes the most important survival skill. Train your ability to distinguish facts from opinions, recognize manipulation and logical errors. Use the 5 whys technique. Ask sequential questions, delving into the core of the problem, instead of accepting superficial answers. Remember, a digital assistant is a tool, and like any tool, it should remain in the hands of the master, not replace him. Standing on the threshold of a new era in human-machine relations, we peer into the hazy future of human autonomy. Technologies are developing exponentially, but where does this rapid path lead? Already today, neural networks write poetry, create paintings, and engage in philosophical conversations. Tomorrow, they may anticipate our desires before we even realize them. The day after tomorrow, perhaps understand us better than we understand ourselves. The evolution of digital assistants inevitably moves towards creating systems indistinguishable from the human mind in functionality, yet surpassing it in capabilities. This is not an apocalyptic scenario, but a reality demanding contemplation. We stand at a crossroads, to become an appendage of our own creations or to find a new model of coexistence. The future of human autonomy is not predetermined. It is shaped by our decisions today. Every query to a search engine, every delegation of a task to a voice assistant is a small step in one of 2 directions, towards enhancing human potential or towards its replacement. Technological optimists see the prospect of expanded opportunities, liberation from routine for creativity, enhancement of cognitive abilities through symbiosis with artificial intelligence, solving global problems with computational power. Skeptics warn of the risks of skill atrophy, loss of privacy, and the emergence of new forms of inequality. The truth, as always, lies between the extremes. The digital future we are building must be based on 3 fundamental principles: awareness, control, and development. Awareness in the use of technologies, understanding where help ends and dependence begins. Control over data and algorithms, transparency of the mechanisms influencing our decisions. Development of the human within humanity, those qualities that make us unique: empathy, creativity, ethical choice. We must build a world where technologies serve to unleash human potential, not to limit it.